everyone. So the weather's finally decided to shine on us for a little while, so we're back on the XK. We're going to get in and I'm going to get these front fenders to the point where hopefully today they're actually in epoxy, because yeah, that's taken a couple of weeks to get there with the rain we've had. And I had someone ask the other day what sealant we used when we put the heater hose barb in the engine block of the Cleveland in the XA. We used Permatex number 3, and they asked how it was holding up. So I'm gonna let this thing warm up and bring it out onto the driveway so it's out of our way for the morning, and then yeah, we'll open it up and show you. It's probably the only thing on the car that doesn't leak. So yep, all right, I'll move it out and we'll go from there. And just in case anyone was wondering, the air conditioning, the old underdash aircon in the XA, we put a hose on it to dummy it up so we could make sure when we do the GT grill and lights and stuff like that, all the hoses were going to work and it was going to clear. So you saw me talking out there before, and if anyone's wondering if the old underdash aircon works any good, yeah, it's still working awesome. So yeah, plus plus. Okay, so if you remember back, what we actually did is we did the basics to keep fluids inside of this old girl, just so it could start and run and we could put the top end on it and see what the condition of it was. So down in there, where that heater hose runs in down there, we put a new barb in because the tin metal one that was in there from factory was corroded out and tissue paper thin. That one there is holding up pretty damn good. We did put a Kilkenny Castings brass one in there, so they are a lot better and they're a nice tight fit into the machined hole. And we used Permatex number 3 on the outside and just drove it home with a brass drift, and touch wood, so far it's been run for quite a while, testing things like the aircon and stuff like that, and no leaks. So we did that, and we put a cheap water pump on it because the factory one was leaking out everywhere. And so yeah, no drips on the floor, and as a whole everything seems to be working quite well. Can't say much the same for the carby. That old 600's a bit but it starts, it works, and does everything we need to from there. So yeah, as for what sealant I use, Permatex number 3 on that and the water pump, and I've got to say it holds up pretty good. There is other stuff you can use, but that's what I've always used, so, and I'll stick with what it works. Okay, into the shed. Okay, so we've got a fairly decent sort of day in. Dylan's got 2 of the rear doors blocked back, final rub. They've all been hit with 320 inside and out, no rod throughs. So they're going to be ready to just give a clean up, wipe down and remask them up and go onto the racks ready for sealer and then colour. He's got the 2 front ones to do, and tomorrow I finally got these front fenders all prepped up today. So tomorrow they're going to go into epoxy, and if I get that on early enough, the go is going to be to try and get a couple of coats of high fill on as well at the same time, so that way they can sit for a couple of days, week, and then while Dylan's doing those last 2 front doors, I'll be blocking them back. Then we're ready for colour. I can't really think of anything else that needs repairing. We've done everything. The body, the main body, it needs a wash down and a wipe down, ready to remask up, and then once we've washed that down, all the doors and everything, it's ready, we'll go through and we'll scuff it all with a Scotch-Brite and prep wash it, and it's basically colour and clear on everything. So we're getting close. By the end of October it should be in colour, so fingers crossed. So yeah, I'll get back into it tomorrow, and hopefully there'll be some paint going on. And this little XA fender sitting over here, what I'll do tomorrow when I get some time as well, before I put epoxy on the fenders, I'm going to mask up and mark out where we need to drill holes down here to pop the fender badge in. So that way what I can do is, while the epoxy's out, I can just give a little bit of a coat where the holes are that we've got to drill through, and then while I'm waiting for the fenders to dry, I'll get onto the XA fender and get it final rubbed, because if I don't run out of daylight, I might actually be able to have some fun and get some colour on that, and we can see the colour the XA is going to go. So we'll see how we go. I'm going to go up, clean up, get these dogs in away from these plovers, and yeah, we'll see you in the morning. Thanks for hanging around. Bye. Come on. Come on. Shelby, come on. Let's go. Come. Okay guys, so we're back on the XK fenders this morning. But what we're going to do first, because it's a Sunday and I want to do something I want to do and something I find enjoyable, we're going to work on the XA fender for a little bit. So we've got the GT fender badge that we need to mark out and work out where it goes in placement on the fender. I've got some measurements from the body lines off of a car that had one that had the badges in a position that I liked. So now we've got a piece of scrap paper, transferred the badge over. So we've got our 3 holes and the shape of the outline of the badge. So we're going to cut that out, and that'll give us our template of where we need it to go in relation to the fender. So we only really need the bottom and the back edge as a reference, but I'll cut this whole thing out anyway, roughly. And the top here will just probably make it straight. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're going to transfer it over onto the fender. Just get you guys up here. So what we've done is on the body line, we've marked up how far it was supposed to be, and we've marked in where it's supposed to be, and we've got some tape there. Now, it looks a little high, so I'm just gonna reference back to the picture to make sure I'm working on the right side of the tape. So from the back edge in, it was 120. So it should be 120 to the edge of that tape we've got marking there. Yep. The one I'm not sure about is that. It was 90 to the bottom of the T and the GT. So 90. No, puts it at the top of that. So we're right. So now that would sit that way. And eyeballing it looks about there. Turn that off. Okay. So now we make that level with that tape line. One, two, three. There's our holes, positions at least, for where we need the badge. This one does line up with the frame and back of the Rio, so I'm not sure if they went through the Rio on those, or if they they're long. We'll see what happens when it gets in there. Maybe there's a hole we have to drill in the Rio so we can access the nut. Excuse me. But that's where it was on the fender of the one that we had come through work. And it looks about right. Okay, we'll grab some stuff to drill them. Okay, so we've marked it, so let's see if we can whack some holes in here and see if it's going to line up. That's the one that went into the Rio. But does it go down? The Rio in that spot doesn't sit hard against the panel. We'll see if it clears or if we have to cut a notch out of the Rio. ways to be a little bit bigger. Okay. I made the holes a little bit too snug, so if we go a little bit bigger, probably won't go the same size as that back one. I made the back one a bit bigger so we could have a bit of wiggle room for that Rio. I don't know, it clears the Rio. It's just whether you can get the nut on it or not. Okay. So what we'll do that back one is we'll pop a hole all the way through the same size as that, so we can drill the fender from the back with a bigger drill to put a hole in the back so you can do the nut up from inside the Rio. So if we go there. Okay, so now we'll flip it over and can run a step drill through the other side. Okay, so one of the fastening nuts is going to go right behind this Rio. So I'm going to whack a step drill through there to make the hole a bit bigger so we can possibly access it, or if worse comes to worse, we can use a saw and cut a bigger hole there, but this should be enough. enough to get the badge up in. And then we just need access to get one of these nut things on. No. Oh yeah, it's kind of doable. You can see what you're doing. All right, so that's going to work. Oh, if I can get that nut back out now. Fingers up. Oh, you klutz. All right, so that's going to work. We'll clean all that mess up and we'll get it ready to sand. Okay, so let's get you in here and show you where we're at. The XA's fender has been drilled and marked out, and we've got the badge running parallel with the body line that's here and the body line that goes across the top there. So, and it's in the location I like, and we can access it, and we've spot primed the holes that we've drilled through. So this one's going to sit out here for the moment, and after we get a couple of coats of epoxy on these things, they're all being cleaned down, sanded, and they're ready to wipe down some prep wash. And so we're going to get a couple of coats of epoxy on those, and the stone tray that's hanging up here, ready to go. And then while we're waiting for the epoxy to go off, we're going to duck outside and start blocking back the XA fender and get that ready, so that hopefully after I've got the final coat of primer on the XK fenders, we might have some time today if the weather's playing nice and get some colour on the XA fender. So we'll hook in and see how we go and let you know from there. Okay, so there's a little bit of change of plan. The PDF sheet on the epoxy, it's not going to dry in time for us to sand it and coat it with high fill today. So we're going to get the stone tray and the fenders in epoxy. Then we're going to clean up. I've got a light coated guide coat on the XA, so while the fenders and everything are flashing off, we're going to get in and block all this back. It's a final coat of high fill on this one, so it's already been blocked and it's pretty straight for a wall hanger. So we're going to get in and give it a nice rub back, and by then the XK stuff should be ready to drag out of the room, and we'll drag the fender in, XA1, and we'll go colour on that. So we should, looking at outside, we should get colour on that today, and we can have a look at what that looks like. Alright, so I've got all the primer mixed up. We're going to pop you guys down. I'm going to duck in here and get these couple of coats on, and we'll show you where we're at after that. Okay, so that's one coat over everything in there. So let's duck in and have a look. Now the back of these doesn't really matter because that's all going to hit with like a rhino liner black or something like that, just to seal them up. But they've got primer on them from when we prepped them, so the overspray doesn't matter. So the next time round, we're just going to go around and hit any of the little thin spots around the edges on this one. But I think, looking at that, the one I was worried about getting runs on and hangs on, I didn't. It all set up. Oh no, there's one there, on the edge. But it's not that bad. And a little bit of wave down there too, but again, not that bad. They'll scuff off, and then we'll hit it with some primer when we're ready to prime it. But these ones that I didn't want it on, hang. And massive run down the front here on the scallop. That just went to absolute poo. But this one was all pretty okay. Again, except for there. Alright, so it's got product on it. The weather is cold and the reducer we've got is a standard reducer, so that didn't help. It's got paint on there. It'll do. We'll get it blocked back, so ready for the high fill to go over. I've got let it flash off for a little bit longer now because the weather is, like I said, damn cold, and the reducer we've got is too slow, so I'll let these flash off. I'll put a bit more on so we can rub out those runs, and yeah, they'll be right to sit for the week. They'll harden up, and then we'll get into them with some high fill after I've taken some of the runs out and just scuffed it down a little. That first coat doesn't really matter as long as we've got product on there to stop it rusting and seal it up. So yeah, I'll clean up, get in there for a second coat, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we've all cleaned up. All three panels have got epoxy on them. Won't look at that one. She's got a few hangs in it. This one here, little one around the front there, and there under the headlight bucket. But other than that, this one's good. They're both good. They've both got a decent coat on there that's going to give us something to sand and flatten out. And that will probably be, with the way this weather's going and this cold snap, either through the week or next weekend. So next Saturday, Sunday, I'll probably hook in, just spend the entire weekend scuffing them back and getting high fill on them. And there is a couple of spots like where we did the filler on them. I just wanted to get the epoxy on so we could sand them and also seal them up from surface rust. But where the filler's gone in, there's little pinholes and that need a scraping of the fine fill. So we'll guide coat them, flatten them, and then high fill any of those little spots, not high fill, sorry, fine fill any of those little spots where the pinholes are showing up in the filler that we put on, which there isn't a lot. There's a little bit at the back on that one where the antenna hole was, and out of all the other filler, I think it's pretty much the only one that needs another scraping of any kind of filler. So then it's just a case of seeing how true and straight it all is, and yeah, hopefully there's not too much more fill work to do on them. But as a whole, ignore the runs, but yeah, haven't picked a gun up for a while, so I was expecting it to run, especially on a cold day. But that'll do. Alright, I'm going to get that door open and we'll start getting that XA fender blocked back while these dry off. Okay, so they're in there drying, and out here, like I said, I was going to go through and scuff this one down. So there's our guide coat. I'm giving it a quick hit with some 240 on a soft back sanding pad, and that's what we're aiming for. And you can see through there where it's showing the orange peel of the primer when it was sprayed on, and we're aiming for that all the way through. Once I've done that over the whole fender, we're going to then re-guide coat it and go through and hit it with the 320. So we'll see if we can get it in time so we can get some colour on at the Savo, or we may run out of time and it may get too cool. But either way, that's going to be prepped, ready to get colour on. Okay, stick around. So we're slowly running out of daylight, but that XA fender is all blocked back in 240. We haven't rubbed, well, I shouldn't say we haven't rubbed through. There's the tiniest little rub through there on the edge, which we can spot prime. And that's it. So that's all the guide coat off and everything cut back to 240. So I want to take it to 320, so we're going to give it another little light mist, and then we might start shuffling stuff around in here so we can get it inside, and yeah, we'll keep going. So I just thought I'd show you what we've done. I've done a quick hit with the 320 in one little spot, and if anyone says why would you go 320 after 240 if you've got it all blocked back ready for colour, because what we're trying to get rid of is those, if they'll show up in the camera. So we've got all of our 240 grit scratches that you can see from this 240 grit paper in the filler, or sorry, not in the filler, the primer. So we're blocking to get rid of them now. So we're not actually removing a heck of a lot of primer, but we're removing enough to get rid of the 240 grit scratches. So I'll go through, do this quickly, and that should be a wrap for the night. Okay. Okay, so we've got that all cleaned up and rubbed back with 320. So hopefully this will show up. It's probably a bit dark. And the reason we go there is we want the paint to go on flat when we put the colour on. And when you look at that, it's not going to show up, is it? Well, if we get you in a bit closer while it's still wet, that'll give you an idea on how the paint's going to come out off the gun. So nice and shiny, or it's got as good a chance as it's going to have to come off the gun shiny and smooth without having to be rubbed and buffed forever and ever. So well, that's the goal, as long as I don't get any hangs and runs like I did on that XK fender today. But I'll wipe this off. Now there is that tiny little spot there on the edge. It hasn't rubbed through to metal, it's rubbed through to the epoxy etch underneath. And there was one little shadow there and a tiny little piece on the front. They've all rubbed through to the epoxy but not through the bare metal. I'll probably just give those a little bit of a scuff with a Scotch-Brite when we go to put paint on, and just see whether I need to prime them or not, but they shouldn't do. So we didn't get as far in as I wanted today, but yeah, we got there. XA fender is good, ready to go. Hopefully through the week I can get in and give these things a block back now that they've hardened up and set up. Oh, I've got that massive run right over the wheel arch, but hey, there's product on there. I can block it, I can sand it, and it's not in bare metal anymore. There is 0 pieces in bare metal on the XK, so I'm happy. So we're one step closer to getting that thing finished. There is something I noticed in there now that there's shiny paint on it, a little tiny divot. Nah, just a little shadow that'll come out when we block it. So yeah, so these have all got to be blocked back, and next weekend Dylan's busy, but next weekend I know I've got to block them back, but I can always do them outside. I really want to get colour on that. So I've got the colour, I've got the black trim, because we are going to do the blackouts on it like a GT. But yeah, I haven't said the colour that it's going to go. So hopefully this time next week we'll have a fender in colour, and you'll see which one we're going to go with. So thanks for sticking around, thanks for tuning in, and yeah, give us a like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Yes, I'll come back to you, then I'll ask, what have we done under the sun?